There was always something about Isabelle Christopher which drew me to her like a moth to a flame. From those very first days in July 1962, when we first met, I found her to be a force field I definitely wanted to include in my life. She was 20 years old and the mother of a 3-month-old baby boy. I was 24 and the mother of a 13-month-old baby girl when the bond between us was first established over 59 years ago. We were in the cookware business at the time and needed telephone solicitors to book appointments for our sales staff. Isabelle applied and we hired her. After a very short training period, Isabelle began booking more and better qualified appointments than anyone we had ever hired. She was a veritable whirlwind, capable of performing magical transformations with every phone contact she made. So we convinced her to become a salesperson. As a salesperson, she booked her own appointments and won a sale on every single appointment she and Tom ever went out on. Over the course of those 59 years, Iz and I bared our souls to each other, laughed and cried together, fought with each other, and explored our creative talents together. Everything we did was done with great passion. Isabelle was a very passionate woman. She felt life deeply and questioned it constantly. Her questioning was part of what gave our relationship so much depth and strength. Isabelle was a powerful storyteller. She mesmerized her audience with tales about the Italian neighborhood she grew up in, about her grandmother D'Ambrosia, and especially about the neighborhood white witch Gumasitrakwa. We laughed, we cried, and we gasped as one tale after another rolled out of Isabelle's mouth. Isabelle was a compulsive talker, but somehow managed to never be boring. Her stories were always fresh and compelling. We once spent 8 hours alone together on a road trip. She never stopped talking, and I never once was bored by her stories. She always laced her conversations with humor. She once described the fashion of the 1950s as the time when girls wore bullet bras. Isabelle was a quick study. During her years of employment, this 9th grade dropout never failed to astonish her employers with her ability not only to master the job she applied for, but to grasp the larger picture in which her job was enmeshed. Isabelle and I were always in one creative mood or another. I remember the summer we decided to can all our fruits, vegetables, and condiments for the winter. We canned jams, jellies, fruits, vegetables, and pickles. But our stellar moment came when we successfully made pickled eggplant from her mother-in-law Lucy's recipe. There were years when we became so skilled as seamstresses, we designed our own wardrobes and those of our children. During our child-rearing years, most of our relationship took place over the phone. Every day, we would be hours on the phone over multiple conversations. What wouldn't we have given for a mobile phone? But the best we could come up with was a 25-foot telephone cord. We poured out our secrets and our tales to each other, and they rivaled the perils of Pauline. Such drama, born on the wrong side of the tracks. Could we prevail over the slings and arrows life threw at us? Life's deepest and most troubling moments were often the topic of our philosophical conversations. But there were other times when it was simply about matters as mundane as what to cook for dinner tonight. I remember the times when the whole family would come to the lake to spend the weekend with us. We were 5 kids and 4 adults. They were such happy times for both families. There would be great food and great music. We would have all of our meals out on the porch overlooking the woodlands and steep banks. The children would explore the woods, take the trail down to the beach, pick wild mulberries, and at the end of the day, my husband Walter would play the piano and we'd sing songs. At bedtime, Walter would read them stories about Winnie the Pooh. I remember when the whole family, including Isabel's sister Josephine and brother-in-law Bobby, came to the lake for a picnic. Walter pulled out his 1954 racing Jaguar and gave everyone a ride through the serpentine big woods on Lake Road. It was a ride Josephine will never forget. We visited a place we called the Top of the World 2 times, where we enjoyed breathtaking views and a silence found only in the wilderness. We visited a horse farm where little Josephine, with her eyes as big as saucers, had her first pony ride. On another outing, we enjoyed a great train adventure, which gave the children their very first train ride. It was an adventurous trip for all, and we followed it with dinner at a very nice restaurant. It was a great day. I remember the year Walter and I convinced Isabelle and Tom to join us for a weekend in Toronto to see the musical Phantom of the Opera. That was a weekend filled with wonder. We explored the city of Toronto, dined at our hotel, and also at a famous restaurant. We saw the musical and explored interesting back roads on the way home. Iz and I were always there for each other. When Walter died, she left Tom for the very first time to go with me to Kennebunk, Maine. She didn't want me to be alone. When I first met Bernie Wall, Isabelle was convinced he was really an ex-murderer in disguise and that he wanted to get me out on his boat so he could murder me and throw my body overboard. Needless to say, she came to love Bernie for the good friend and husband he has been to me. During my first season with Bernie, she and Tom agreed to take my beautiful greyhound Willow into their home and hearts, even though they knew Willow did not have more than a few months to live. She did it because she loved me, and because she said, after 4 years of seeing the sadness and tears which had become my life after Walter died, she wanted me to have some happiness. Without Isabelle, I'm not sure Bernie and I would have become a couple. She cared for Willow at the most difficult time in her life. Rita, having been in a car accident, was in the hospital with her life hanging on a thread. Rita lived, but Willow did not. It was Isabelle who held and hugged Willow as her life came to an end. She was a one-of-a-kind woman and a one-of-a-kind friend. She was gifted, brilliant, strong-willed, humorous, loyal, kind, and loving, but she could be a bear if you crossed her. She was a true Mama Grizzly. Isabelle's place in my heart was and always will be huge.